Based on Israeli intelligence, the US has restarted its war with Iran because Iran was planning on assassinating him. US forces struck coastal defense systems and missile and drone sites across the country to further degrade Iran's ability to attack commercial shipping. For the first time, the US used its version of Iran's Shahed attack drones against Iran. The weapon was deployed alongside fighter aircraft and naval vessels. The drone cost just $35,000 each and enabled the US to maintain the slow burning phase of the conflict in a low-cost manner. President Donald Trump also ordered strikes against civilian infrastructure in Iran, which is a war crime. This included bridges, roads, railways, and energy sites. The US bombed multiple bridges, a railway, a maritime watchtower, and energy sites. Iran responded to the attacks by bombing US bases in Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. Tehran also targeted energy sites in Bahrain and a desalination plant in Kuwait. The IRGC claims to have taken out multiple US radar systems and other military equipment. The US is moving additional refueling aircraft to Israel, which would indicate the president is considering a massive offensive against Iran. Anonymous US military officials told Reuters the US strikes should be seen as shaping operations that are degrading Iranian defenses in case the US military was ordered to carry out more intensive operations in the future. The ceasefire between the US and Iran, established by the Memorandum of Understanding, has now collapsed. The vague deal was always problematic, but US strategists seem to think doing the same thing again will produce a different result. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz told US Secretary of War Pete Hegseth in a call that Israel won't withdraw from Gaza, Syria, or Lebanon. According to the Jerusalem Post, Katz emphasized Israel's determination to remain in security zones in Syria, Gaza, and Lebanon to protect Israel's borders and nearby communities from threats posed by jihadist forces. Katz added that Israel has never asked the US to act in our place along our borders. We are committed to protecting the residents of Israel from every threat, and that is what we intend to do. The conversation came a few days after Katz said that Israel won't leave Gaza even if Hamas disarms, and that it would establish 3 Nahala outposts, a type of Zionist settlement that starts as a community for IDF soldiers with the goal of turning it into a permanent civilian community. President Trump had asked Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to start redeploying forces from parts of Syria and Lebanon, though there's no sign the US is concerned about Israel's expanding occupation and continued attacks in Gaza, despite the operations being a blatant violation of the US-backed ceasefire deal. Israel has for long raised the need for security zones along Israel's borders, and there's no sign that Israel is planning to pull back or that the US is putting real pressure on Israel to do so. Israel has, since its origins back in 1948, envisaged expanded borders and has over time used security to seize territory. Today, this includes territory in Syria and Lebanon, and senior Israeli ministers are very open they want to establish settlements in southern Lebanon and southwest Syria. China is now viewed more favorably than the US in the latest survey by the Pew Research Center that spanned 6 continents. The findings suggest the global standing of the US has slipped as President Trump advances his America First agenda, while China's international image has improved. It's the first time in some 20 years of Pew Global Opinion polls that China has surpassed the US in being viewed more positively among many of those surveyed. Interviews were conducted from February to May 2026, when the US and Israel launched military strikes against Iran. The survey of more than 42,000 people found that more have confidence in Chinese leader Xi Jinping than in Trump, reversing a trend seen when former President Biden led the US, though many of those surveyed lack confidence in both leaders. The Iraq and Afghan wars really hurt US prestige, as the US trampled over its values but failed to win a decisive victory in the decades-long wars. But under Trump, everything the US once stood for, such as the global liberal order, democracy, economic prosperity, and international law, has been ripped up in the America First mantra. With the US kidnapping the Venezuelan president, blockading Cuba, and launching a war with Iran, the empire is out of control, and the soft power the US spent decades building has now officially gone up in smoke. The fact that many now have more confidence in China reveals the direction the world is now heading in.